Voters delivering a final verdict against Democrats and their vision for America. But some in the party are focusing more on media platforms instead of policies. The New York Times with this story last week, quote, Republicans built an ecosystem of influencers. Some Democrats want one too. Democrats were badly outflanked online in the election, and progressive influencers are now trying to create networks to be a left-wing answer to Turning Point USA. The CEO of one company trying to launch liberal influencers told the Times, quote, we got killed in alternative media. Republicans have been investing in that space for years. And on the left, we've treated creators who are not in legacy media as gig workers. Joining us now is the founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk. It's great to have you on the program. And what is your reaction to the fact that the Democrats are now trying to copy the Republican model because they realized how successful it was with Donald Trump in the election?
Well, they finally woken up that their strategy hasn't worked. In the 1920s, radio was finally used in American politics. The 1960s, of course, we remember the first televised debate of Nixon v. Kennedy. This election will go down in the history books of where long-form podcasting changed the way that voters made their decisions. At Turning Point USA, we built an influencer army over the last decade, and we were mocked by many on the left and the media saying, oh, that's a waste of time. That's just people talking in their echo chamber. Now, the smart people on the left are complaining to the New York Times that what we built actually made a sizable and significant and measurable difference this last election cycle. And President Trump deserves extraordinary credit here because he was willing to take the risk to go to long-form podcasting. It's very easy to say, oh, yeah, your candidate should do podcasting. No, that's 3 hours of no scripting, no breaks. You have no idea where that conversation is going to go, where it's going to weave, where what topics are going to be covered. Kamala Harris had an opportunity to do long-form podcasting with Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn, and her team said, no, too risky. We're just going to kind of keep her in the safe media bubble environment. One of the reasons why we were able to have a red wave and a landslide is that our candidate and our entire movement was willing to go to places where people don't always share our ideas. We can agree to disagree, have dialogue and discourse, and put it on display for tens of millions of voters. And young people in particular saw that, and they voted the most Republican they have in over 30 years.
I think you're 100% right on the strategy and the fact that it was unique. But for example, let's just say Kamala Harris had sat down with Joe Rogan. If she was peddling the same messaging, if the messaging isn't on point when you're talking to that crowd of people, you have to know your audience, and obviously President Trump does. If she stuck with her messaging, I'm not necessarily sure it would have had the same impact for her.
It's a very smart point. There's an argument to be made that she would have done even worse if she sat down with Joe Rogan. So that their team had to kind of weigh it like, well, our candidate is not very good at defending her positions, and her positions are very unpopular. So should we put her into the lines then of a 3-hour type conversation? And that is one of the other reasons why we are able to see such historic numbers this election. Yeah. Our ideas are just better, and they're not necessarily conservative or liberal. They're just common sense. We want borders, we want safe streets, we want sound currency, we want efficient government, we want a prosperous economy. Young people want to own homes. And the other side, they have radical left-wing positions that get exposed in that type of long conversation, of podcasting, of dialoguing, and social media, where you might be able to hide in a 7-minute type scripted television interview. But boy, when you go to a podcast host with no notes, those ideas get flushed out, and the audience is able to judge significantly and correctly.
And of course, when she had it handed to her on The View, a silver platter, golden opportunity, she couldn't even take that. And that wasn't the kind of format that we're talking about here. Of course, we're going to have much more with you, Charlie Kirk. So just hang in with us in just a moment right here on Sunday Morning Futures. And we're back with Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. Charlie, I want to talk to you a little bit about AOC, because to the conversation we were having a little bit before the break about messaging and sometimes the Democrats doubling down, she's actually asking after this election loss a lot of questions. And she kind of wants to know what went wrong. It seems like she's almost repositioning herself. And while the Dem bench right now isn't plentiful, some are saying she could be the nominee in 2028. But if so, it sounds like she's taking a very interesting and smart approach. She's not dumb. Do I have Charlie?
No, not at all. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to play a tape there. Yes, no, you're exactly right. I'll say this about AOC is that she has a lot of talent. She has tens of millions of followers on social media, and she is someone that needs to be taken seriously. If she were to run for the presidency within the Democrat Party initially, she would be formidable. And, you know, we as Republicans, we can laugh and we can try to make fun of her, but she understands where the energy of the Democrat base actually is, which is a progressive energy. Now, good luck winning in Ohio or Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania and any of these Rust Belt states with that sort of radical left-wing perspective. However, this is whether or not AOC runs for the presidency will be a very interesting litmus test of where is the center and the soul of the Democrat Party. Are they going to try to double and triple down on what we would consider to be woke ideas or policies, or are they going to try to moderate themselves the way that Bill Clinton did in the 1990s and was able to kind of build a Southern Democrat strategy that ended up being very, very successful for them in the 1992 and 1996 election. Yeah. My bet is that there are far too many people on the woke side of the Democrat Party. I think it's going to go more in the direction of AOC, and she should be taken very seriously. Well,
speaking of the bench, you can see with some of these picks from former President Trump for his current administration and cabinet that he's filling up the Republican bench. There's so much youth, there's so much vigor to combat what they're putting out there. And ultimately, you think to yourself, he's really setting up the Republicans in a great positioning for 2028.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we don't want to get too cocky. We don't want to get too confident. But we really are seeing a potential for a decade-long governing let's just say regime, and I mean that in the best possible way, where we can see really low taxes, high growth, secure borders, and you look at this all-star team that you have. You have Vivek Ramaswamy, you have Marco Rubio, you have Elise Stefanik, you have this incredible Avengers squad, not to mention Elon Musk. You have J.D. Vance, who we'll see if he runs for the presidency in 2028, and the president has really set up this Republican Party to be a party of common sense, to be a party of younger voices, of innovative ideas. And you look around the Democrat Party, you have to ask the question, where is their bench? Where are their change makers? Where are their, really interesting types of candidates? The president won this election, and he is going to leave a legacy behind him, one that will keep the MAGA movement going for many generations to come.
Yeah, and the answer doesn't lie in Kamala Harris or her political future. Charlie, we've got just a minute left, and I want to ask you about all the folks that do want to serve and those threats that they received before the Thanksgiving holiday. Ultimately, it's a terrible position to be in, and it really scares a lot of people and makes them want to steer away from politics, yet everybody is standing firm and they're dealing with it. Do you think that they'll go after those folks who made those threats?
Oh, I sure hope so. Look, anyone that makes this kind of disgusting threats should face the entire full force of the federal justice system. I'll say this, though, that talking to some of the people that received those threats, such as Pete Hegseth and many others, their resolve to keep on fighting has only strengthened. They understand that they are here to be change makers. This is not just a normal mandate. This is a historic once-in-many-lifetimes mandate. And, yes, there's going to be some agitators and some people trying to throw nonsense at them, but the team remains stronger than ever.
Charlie, we got to go. Great to see you this morning. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.